Yeah, we've had a good start. 3-0 to start with. Tomorrow another Italian. It'll be third one in a row as
I
well.
know, yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, we know all these guys well, most of them anyway, and it's day by day.
Yeah, for those people who are familiar with the world of tennis and who are would like to get on the ATP tour in terms of their club tennis, going up to breaking into these challenges, what advice would you give them, Dave?
Are you talking about juniors?
Well, I would say we're in between where they're just breaking into winning on a consistent basis because you've got a proven pedigree of taking people from the top 200 or 300, 200 up to the top 100. You've done this consistently for years. So what would be the advice that you would get, the stepping stones for people who want to follow on that path?
Um, I mean, the first thing is patience and resilience to understand that this is a journey that is never ending in terms of trying to improve. And importantly, that no matter how good you are, unless you're an absolute superstar, but if you're becoming a good pro, there's a lot of losing in tennis. And most people can't handle the amount of losing. I mean, if you think about this, the number one player in the world wins 54% of their points.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So, if the number one's winning 54% of their points, the reality is, players ranked between sort of 40 and 50 in the world are losing about 50% of their matches. So it doesn't matter what level you are, you're going to lose a lot of matches. And tennis is really in terms of progressing your ranking is about hot streaks. So how many matches you win in a row. So as a very quick example, I mean, this is very extreme, but if you've got a really good junior who at the beginning of the year won the Australian Open Juniors, so that's 6-0, and then they played 27 tournaments in the year, and they lost first round every single tournament after that, which obviously would not happen, but just as an example of how it's about the hot streak and doing well at bigger and bigger tournaments. That player would be 6-26, yet they would still be ranked top 10 in the world because of the points that they would have got from the Australian Open. So if you're going to progress as a tennis player, it's about your hot streaks and making hay while the sun shines. So if you can get hot, 5 or 6 times a year, that will progress your ranking more than if you very, very consistently sort of second round, first round, second round, quarterfinal, first round, second round. If you can go first round, win, semifinals, first round, second round, first round, you're going to be a lot higher ranked than even if your winning percentage is exactly the same.
Yeah.
So, young players get very discouraged if they go on a losing streak, when they should actually be optimistic that when that losing streak comes to an end, they'll get hot and have a winning streak. And what hurts them is when they're on a losing streak, they get very negative. They stop believing that good things can happen. And that actually elongates the losing streak. And sometimes they don't see the opportunities when they do start to play well and take them.
I think that is a really valuable insight into the macro view of an individual in the world of tennis. And that sort of leads nicely on to your strength in depth of this particular area because of the mindset college and the locker room power. Can you sort of elaborate on how those would help somebody to keep them motivated to say this is normal and this is this is part of the deal?
Well, I think everybody's heard of compound interest. a stark example of that is Warren Buffett. At the age of 65, Warren Buffett was worth £6 billion or $6 billion. In the last 20 years, he's worth 86 billion. So the compound interest accelerates over time massively, so that, you know, his wealth went beyond all, and he started investing obviously at 10 years of age. Now, you know from your own business that compound work pays dividends, and that gets accelerated over time. But the hard thing is to go through the long road that kind of, starts off with a lift of excitement, and then, all the tough stuff happens and it seems like you're never going to get there, but you're working, and then, suddenly you start to rise, and then things take off. And I think, it's a valuable lesson in life, which sport is as well. As an example, Liam has been on the pro tour basically since he was 16 years of age. That's 12 years. In 11 years, he made $1 million in prize money. Sounds a lot, but when you're spending so much on coaching and traveling around the world and that, it's actually not that much money at all. He had very little money of that. But in his 12th year, he made $500,000. So he's made $1.5 million, of which a third of that came last year. So, that acceleration, you don't know exactly when it's going to happen, and it happens a little sooner for others and a little later for others. But if you believe in what you're doing and you keep working at it, and of course, the work has to be smart, and you need to get, good people around you as well, so that you're not, climbing a ladder on a wall that's going nowhere. You need to be climbing a ladder that's going somewhere. But if you have that resilience to understand that very little success comes quickly, at the end of the day, a lottery is probably the only way where massive money comes quickly. But the reality is, I think it's a ridiculous stat, like 70% of lottery winners end up bankrupt, after like 5 years.
They're not prepared. They're not prepared for the situation, are they?
Yes, they haven't had all this work and learning experiences that prepare you for when the success happens.
And I think that is a valuable lesson for people to take on board, is that it's hard work, it's belief, it's knowing where you're going, and to put in the work. I think there's a stat of about 10,000 flying hours, isn't there?
Yes. I mean, the 10,000 hours is a pretty standard example. I mean, obviously, this is 8,000 or 10,000 or 12,000. I think and importantly, everybody talks about the hard work, which is absolutely true. But at the same time, if you enjoy what you're doing, it shouldn't feel like, like you're in prison or penance, or, some amazingly horrendous experience you've got to go through.
Yeah.
Part of the enjoyment is actually doing the work. And as a coach, I actually, whilst I, enjoy matches, I really do enjoy the behind the scenes work that prepares players for matches and improves the player. And that is where the work is done. But I find that very, very enjoyable. And, success, as lovely as it is not the job. The job is actually the process of getting better all the time. And if you don't enjoy that process, then you're probably doing the wrong thing, because, there's a lot of hours go into it, and there is a lot of work, but I don't feel like my job is, something that is, punishing me every day, when things aren't going well.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's got to be fun. It's got to have an end or a target which you're aiming for, and it is the Kaizen continual improvement in certain areas, small little steps that can then give that consistency and the belief, and then that compounding of that experience and knowing what to do in match situations that pays dividends.
yes, absolutely. And I think another thing that I really try to embed in players is, and I think in in my private practice where I basically help people from all different walks of life, including in business, is time is not a goal. Time is a motivator. So you set a goal and you set a time limit that you want to achieve the goal in. But the reality is, it's very seldom where you will hit a goal at the exact moment that you've set. So, and the other thing I'll say to players, if you don't reach your goal in that time set, what are you going to do? Give up? They go, well, no. So use time as a motivator. Not time is not the goal. So if you're training, and I work with a pro track athlete who's aiming for the Olympics in 28, maybe she makes it in 24, but she knows the kind of times that she's going to need to run in order to reach the Olympics. Now, 24 is a deadline for the Olympics. If she is going to make it, she'll be running those times long before the Olympics happen. If she's not going to make it, then she might run it 2 weeks after the Olympics happen, but that'll prepare for the 28 Olympics. So I think a lot people get very caught up in achieving things in a certain time, and say, well, no, achieving things ultimately is the goal, and time just motivates you, makes you get out of bed and say, well, it's not like mañana. You work with an urgency to try and hit deadlines, but if you don't hit deadlines, it's no big deal, because you're going to carry on until you do achieve what you've set out to do.
Well, I think you've raised there some valuable branches that we could go into at a later date, but just focusing on the here and now, Liam is now going to be playing, is it tomorrow against Nani, the Italian?
Against Luca Nardi.
Yeah.
Luca Nardi tomorrow. Yeah, 10 o'clock our time, which is the day before your time.
Well, I wish you every success, because every time you get on the court, it's another learning experience, and it's only a positive that you can take moving forwards, and that Liam then achieves yet another milestone in his progression to getting to the top. And thanks very much for your time, Dave, and hopefully we can repeat this again and learn more about the role of basically getting better on a daily basis.
Perfect. Thanks a lot for your time.
Cheers, Dave. Bye-bye.